Hi, we're the Seattle Men's Chorus, back with more of the best of Europe. This time we're taking a musical whirlwind tour from the kilts of Bonnie Scotland to the slap dancers of the Tyrol. From nimble matadors of España to the towering scalps of the Alps. And from Swiss Miss to Dutch Boy. Hold on to your castanets. This could be the musical trip of a lifetime. Now, raise your travel dreams to their upright and locked positions. It's time to travel.
There we met a cute Italian traffic cop. He said his name was Emilio. He took us home to meet his familio. His mommy served salami, his papa lots of grappa. We so enjoyed his familio, and Florence and Emilio from the bottom to the top. Thanks to Europe, through the back door. And peckish, don't dismay. Lunch there in the small cafe and stay a while. Far off the beaten path and always family style. You're nothing if not tolerant and versatile. Don't get all carried away. Try Europe the Rixey's way. Hey!
Europe through the back door. Now I get it. I love travel and I love music, and tonight we're in for a lot of both. You know, we Americans have the shortest vacations in the rich world, and it's time for us just to get out there and explore the world and remember that in so many ways, travel is the last great source of legal adventure. But you know, not all travel is good travel. For a lot of people, travel is see if you can eat 5 meals a day and still snorkel when you get into port. Now, when I say that at a cruise convention, people fidget nervously. What's he getting at? But I'm not condemning that. I'm just saying that's not my kind of travel. That's hedonism. And I got no problem with hedonism. I'm a Lutheran. But for me, cruising exacerbates the difference between us and them, and for me, travel should bring us together. That's the beautiful thing about travel. Travel teaches us to celebrate the diversity on this planet. Travel teaches us tolerance. Travel overcomes fear. Have you noticed how much fear is in our society lately? It's amazing. And 75 years ago this month, Franklin Delano Roosevelt made that inspirational speech reminding us that we have nothing to fear but fear itself. And I have a feeling, yes. And I have a feeling there's people using fear against us. And you know, I believe the flip side of fear is understanding. And I gain a lot of beautiful understanding through travel. Travel is a great way to overcome our fears. Let's take an example. Turkey. Turkey has an image problem. It's scary to a lot of people. I remember when I first wanted to go to Europe after graduating from high school, my parents, I begged them to let me go to Europe. Finally they said, okay, Rick, you can go to Europe, but promise us you won't go to Turkey. I don't know, they didn't know what it was scary about it, you know, white slave trade, or they must look like somebody who could assassinate the Pope or whatever, but they just didn't feel comfortable having me in Turkey. So I said, I won't go to Turkey. I went to Europe and I went to Morocco, which is actually much more dangerous. And then, of course, later I went to Turkey, and my parents went to Turkey, and we realized it's a beautiful land.
In fact, let me take you to the eastern part of Turkey, to a little village, to just get a sense of how we can celebrate a place that we don't always understand as well as we might. We're in a little village in Turkey. You stumble into a wedding festival. Everybody's there, and the old-timers are wishing that the young bride and groom will grow old together on one pillow. It's a beautiful sentiment. Across the street, I notice all these ugly, rusty rebar sticking out of unfinished buildings. And I love the Turks, but I'm thinking, why can't you people have a little self-respect and get it together and finish your buildings? And then my Turkish friends tell me, here in Turkey, we have a saying. A family stays together with rebar. Rebar keeps a family together because the ethic of parents in Turkey is to leave their kids with a home. And in Turkey, people historically don't put money into the bank because it just disappears with inflation. When they get $100, they build another wall on that house for their kids. And another $100, they put up a window and a few more rebar. And now when I walk down the streets, I look at that rusty rebar and I remember that rebar holds the family together here in Turkey. Going further down the street, I see a little kid playing an eagle bone flute. It's a delightful scene. And then I hear another eagle bone flute, and I realize his father is with the sheep just over the hill playing his eagle bone flute. And as they have for 2,000 years in that village, shepherds and their sons have known they're together with the help of the little eagle bone flute. Later on, I take my friends to a workshop. And here's a man who's very proud of his craft, and he's a famous wood carver in that part of Turkey. Every village wants a prayer niche carved by this man in their mosque. And he's working away all puffed up because he's got a gang of Americans standing around watching him do his work. And suddenly he stops, and he holds his chisel up in the sky, and he declares, "A man and his chisel, the greatest factory on earth." And I think there's a man who doesn't need me to teach him what fulfillment is all about. Later on, I ask him, "Can I buy a piece of your work?" And he says, "For a man my age, to know that some of my art will go back with you to America and be appreciated, that's payment enough. Here, take this home with you and remember me." Beautiful moment. Later on, we were at the mayor's house with one of our groups, and everybody's dancing. You always get whenever a group of people's together, you turn on the music, shake your shoulders, snap your fingers, and you're dancing. The mayor knows I'm the tour guide, so he wants to impress me. He takes me over to the wall, and he says, "Tour guide, this is the most sacred part of my home, the Quran bag. It's where I hang my Quran. And in my Quran bag, I also keep a copy of the Torah and a copy of the Bible, because I believe we are all people of the book, children of the same God." It's a beautiful notion. And later on in that village, I wanted to be with a dervish as he meditated in his whirling trance. Tourists call them whirling dervishes. And this man said, "You can observe me in my meditative prayer on the condition that I explain to you what I'm doing." We went up onto his rooftop, the sun was setting, and he explained to me he's a follower of Mevlana, a prophet of love. It's a sect of the Muslim faith. And he said, when we worship, we are getting into a meditative trance. I plant one foot in my community. This foot would be in my community. The other foot touches all corners of God's great community, God's great creation. One hand goes up to God to acknowledge the love of our Creator, and the other hand goes down like a teapot, sprinkling the love of God on all of creation. And I whirl, and I remember the importance of my community and the vast diversity on this planet, and it's all created by God. And I gets into his trance, and I'm watching him, and his robe fills out, his head kilts over, the sun's going down, and I look at him and I think, that man is very different from me, yet he is very much the same. And when I fly home with an understanding of the fascinating variety on this planet, with the fundamental oneness of humanity, that for me is the most treasured souvenir. Thank you.
garçons. Sous le ciel de Paris marchent des amoureux. Le bonheur se construit sur un air fait pour eux. Sous le bord de Bercy, un philosophe assis.
Des musiciens, quelques bateaux, puis les gens par milliers.
Sous le ciel de Paris jusqu'au soir vont chanter l'hymne d'un peuple épris de sa vieille cité.
The world is made for fun and frolic, and so do I, and so do I. Something is bound to be your melancholic, to pine inside, to pine inside. But I like to spend my time in singing some joyous song, some joyous song, some joyous song, to set the air with music gaily ringing. It's far from wrong, it's far from wrong, it's far from wrong. Hearken, hearken, music sounds afar. Hearken, hearken, music sounds afar. Funicula, funiculi, funicula. Music sounds afar. Funiculi, funicula.
I'm not too big and I'm awfully shy. The laddies say as I go by, Donald, where's your trousers?
Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in the guild I'll go. All the laddies say hello, Donald, where's your trousers?
Now I went to a fancy ball, and it was slippery in the hall, and I was feared that I might fall, 'cause I had they on me trousers.
Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in the guild I'll go. All the laddies say hello, Donald, where's
This music evokes such beautiful travel images. But I remember on my very first trip, I remember distinctly not wanting to go. I was a 14-year-old kid. My parents wanted me to go see their relatives in Norway. I was over there, a 14-year-old with a bad attitude. And on about day 2, it occurred to me, you know, this isn't all that bad. Different candy, different pop. Statuesque women with hairy armpits. And I gained a taste for this. Now, when I grew up, the world was a pyramid with us on top and everybody else trying to get there. And I firmly believed till well into my adulthood, if people in other lands didn't figure it out, we could go over there and show them how to do it right. And then I realized I met people with nowhere near the affluence or opportunity or freedom that I have, and they wouldn't trade passports. Wow, what a challenge to me. And then I realized these people don't have the American dream. They got the Norwegian dream, or the Latvian dream, or the Moroccan dream, or the Sri Lankan dream. And that's something I've come to celebrate. You know, we Americans find a lot of truths to be self-evident and God-given. And in my travels, I've learned that other people find different truths to be self-evident and God-given. And it just makes sense to give everybody a little wiggle room, doesn't it? Now, we do it our way, and that's great, and they do it their way, and that's fine. Let's take some examples. In the United States, fast service in a restaurant is good service. Go to France, fast service is rude service. Slow service is respectful service. You got the table all night. A lot of Americans are put off by they can't get the bill in a French restaurant. If they spoke enough French to say they need the bill in a hurry, they could get it. But the French people don't want to rush you. It's a different thing. You're not eating on the way to something. You're enjoying the whole evening. You go to Bulgaria, and this means no. This means yes. And in America, this means no. Now that can get you into big trouble when you go to Bulgaria. In America, we like to drive on the right-hand side of the road, don't we? And the English drive on the wrong side? No, the other side. And the English firmly believe it makes more sense to approach traffic with your sword hand on the inside so you can drive defensively. Now, to me, Europe is the wading pool for world exploration. And once you've done Europe, you use it as a springboard to go over to places that are more challenging. And one culture that is particularly challenging to me, and I love it, is Japan. Here in the United States, people with light complexions spend a lot of money in tanning clinics and at plastic surgeons to get darker skin and smaller noses. In Japan, people already have dark skin and small noses. They find people with light skin and big noses to be beautiful. I'm a knockout in Tokyo. And one thing I like about Japan is they heat things differently. We're into central heating, they're into space heating. You wake up in your ryokan in the middle of the night, it's cold, you can see your breath, nothing's heated. You don't find kimonos big enough for a person my size, you slip it on and it's small. To go down the hall to the bathroom, you have to slip into the hallway slippers. And you don't have big slippers either. Shuffle down with your heels hanging out. You get to the bathroom, you can see your breath, your kimono's small. You slip out of those slippers into the bathroom slippers you're dreading sitting on this toilet seat. You sit down and the toilet seat is heated. Yes. It's a Japanese solution to a problem. Now, I find it really challenging to go to places we're inclined to think as our enemies and learn about the nobility of that culture. I was in Afghanistan one time on a very memorable trip, sitting where all the backpackers do in Kabul in a cafeteria, just minding my own business, and an old local man sat down next to me and he said, "Can I join you?" And I said, "You already have." He said, "You're from America, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, I am a professor here in Afghanistan, and I want you to know that 1/3 of the people on this planet eat with spoons and forks like you do. 1/3 of the people eat with chopsticks, and 1/3 of the people eat with their fingers like I do, and we're all just as civilized." Oh, he had a chip on his shoulder about this. And I thought, well, okay, I get it. And you know, for the rest of that trip through South Asia, I realized it's a beautiful thing. I would go to fancy local restaurants with well-dressed professional people in a restaurant without a single spoon or fork. And there's a ceremonial sink in the middle of that fine restaurant. People wash their hands with some ritual, and they use their fingers for what God meant them to be. And it became quite natural for me in my travels to eat with my fingers. I had to be retrained when I got home. Now, your travels go better if you, like the French say, vive la différence. I think your travels go better if you have this attitude that if things aren't to your liking, why don't you consider changing your liking? Your challenge is to fit in. If the beds are too short, the real problem is you're too long. And with that attitude, you'll love the French, okay? Thank you.
Everyone getting all up in your face, saying no, you're wrong. England versus France, New Hampshire versus Maine, Fred Phelps versus anyone with a brain. Everywhere you go, people complain. Why can't anybody get along? Good people, do not worry, for all the while a message of peace waits in the dairy aisle. Behold, in the cold, wrapped in wax or mold, cheese, the ambassadors of peace. They reside side by side, they neither fear nor hide. Cheese, the ambassadors of peace. Their little flags unfurled, these curds of the world have no quarrel, no blood to appease. In bliss like this, they've learned to coexist. We can all learn a lot from cheese. Écoutez, hurrah, regardez, voilà, here comes an ambassador for peace. Bonjour, mes amis, I garantis bon appétit. C'est l'amour, c'est la vie, c'est le prix. A bouquet for your nose, and it goes le prix en rose. C'est l'amour, c'est la vie, c'est le prix. I am smooth and refined, mais oui, eat my rind for the midnight snack or apres-ski. The world and me, we both agree. C'est l'amour, c'est la vie, c'est l'abri. On a plate or a bed, in a songs of immigrants, or patiently waiting on our shelves. Via conquesta, my darling, only cheese can save us from ourselves. Siamo fortunati, behold everybody, here comes another ambassador for peace.
With a flavor sweet and mellow, I'm a moist, happy fella. I'm a ball of mozzarella, bella, bella, la, la, la. You will dance a tarantella with a bell or a cappella when you smell a mozzarella, bella, 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 la. crazy, it's so tasty. Banana make you ha la la la, oh banana ha. Well, Super Cinderella, Super Queen Isabella, people love mozzarella, bella mozzarella.
A mighty, mighty force which you can't and romance. All we are saying is give cheese a chance.
I ordered square and wrapped in plastic, made by machine. No one would say I taste fantastic. No one would call me cuisine. All the world makes cheese for flavor. Me, I built for ease. Just slap between a bun and burger. Smile and say American cheese. American cheese.
Are you yellow? Are you sharp? Are you mellow? Will you be an ambassador for peace? Cheese for seas. Are you rich? Are you humble? Are you firm? Do you crumble? Will you be an ambassador for peace? Cheese for peace. We all play a role in life's serving bowl, whether tuna or noodles or peas. Tiny tendencies. We can all get along, both the mild and the strong. With examples such as these and a cultured expertise, we can all learn a lot from cheese. Wonderful cheese, glorious cheese. Oh, Fortuna cheese's ideas.
Well, as you know, it's pledge season. We're just going to take a little short pledge break here from our regular programming to remind you that great culture and music like you're hearing tonight just can't happen without the generous support of our viewing audience and corporate neighbors.
You know, George, let's call this something more positive than a pledge break. How
Thanks
about
a
the viewing equivalent of maybe refueling, okay? And all these folks are holding the pump handles right now. We're pausing for just a moment to thank the corporate sponsors that help make the Seattle Men's Chorus possible.
You know, many people who enjoy the music of the Seattle Men's Chorus might not know that the ticket price only covers about half of the cost of each production.
I didn't know that.
You didn't?
No.
Oh. Well, it's true. These chorus concerts are possible thanks to the generous support of groups like ACFEA Tour Consultants. They've been supporting the arts since 1955. The chorus also receives help from the Seattle Men's Chorus, from the Mayor's Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs, and from Alaska Airlines. They've been serving our community for 75 years with Alaska Spirit. Or is that Spirits?
A little of both.
Okay.
Each of these companies recognizes the value of the arts in our community and supports it. By the way, there's a number of exciting choral performances coming up. The Seattle Men's Chorus has a wonderful concert coming up right here at McCaw Hall on June 27th and June 28th.
That's right, Rick. It's a concert entitled Comedy Tonight, and it features Leslie Jordan. He's that funny little guy who played Beverly, Leslie, and Will and Grace, and Brother Boy in Sordid Lives. You all saw Sordid Lives, didn't you?
Now, for more information and for tickets for that concert, you can visit the website, www.flyinghouse.org. You know, there should be a catchy little musical jingle. That would be nice, wouldn't
There
it?
should be, yes. Oh, my. The Seattle Women's Chorus has a wonderful spring concert. That's April 12th and 13th, and it's called Vixen Fiction Siren Song. I got it
You
right.
got
How
it.
about that? Okay. Author Ann Bannon and singer-songwriter Chris Williamson are going to be part of what's going to be a really amazing program.
So it's Vixen Fiction Siren Song. It's going to be at Meany Auditorium on the UW campus. And I wonder where people can go to buy tickets for the Seattle Women's Chorus. Yes. On Saturday, April 19, the Seattle Men's Chorus and the Seattle Women's Chorus are presenting Chicago, the 12th annual Dinner Dance and Auction.
You know, not only is this the organization's largest and most important fundraiser, but folks, this is the best party in town, no question about it. Chicago takes place, as always, at the Washington State Convention Center in beautiful downtown Seattle.
And for tickets and details, dial the 206 number you see on your screen, or go to your favorite musical website.
You do that very well.
I love that song. And finally, if this pledge break makes you want to just flee the country, we got copies of this book, the 2008 edition of my guidebook, Europe Through the Back Door, for sale in the lobby for $20.
And I'd like to point out to you that Rick autographed each book, and he's not making a dime off the sale of these books. He donated them to challenge each of you to help support our men's chorus.
And I thank you. And I must say the book is packed with fun tricks and practical tips. I consider it the Kama Sutra of European travel fun, actually. And there's even a section on gay travel in this edition. I put it in there just for you and maybe you, all right?
Thank you. Again, fine programming like this can happen only with your generous financial support. So, danke schön, merci, grazie, and thank you. And now we return to our program, which is already in progress. Did you know?
That's right. Stay tuned. You gotta love that music, but we've got trips coming up and we gotta take a little break from that music right now and talk practical travel tips, all right? Practical travel tips. How many of you have been to Europe before? Let me see a show of hands. All right, anybody here because they got a trip coming up? The next 15, 20 years? Great, all right, the stakes are high. We got the shortest vacations in the rich world. We gotta travel smartly. Let's have some questions. Yes, up there.
What's with our pathetic dollar? Shouldn't I wait to go to Europe later?
You may be dead later. You know, a lot of people are wondering when's the dollar going to come back down. Hey, it's not going to come back down. The dollar is about where it needs to be or where it should be. I just don't think we're as wealthy as we like to think we are, okay? So get used to the fact that you're not going to hop into a cab like a German. You're going to wait at the bus station with the Portuguese. Up there.
Will I be treated like an ugly American?
Only if you are an ugly American. You know, a lot of people are treated like ugly Americans. They're not bad people, they're just ethnocentric. It's not just ugly Americans. Big countries are treated ugly, like ugly. There's ugly Germans, ugly Japanese, ugly Russians, and ugly Americans. Now, if you're from a little country, Belgium, Norway, they don't treat you as ugly. It's hard to be Belgian and think you're the norm, all right? Over there.
We're heading for Europe this summer with our family, and we're wondering, where should we take our little kids?
I'd take them to Grandma and Grandpa's on the way to the airport. Yes. Yes. A question right here in the aisle.
Yeah, the thing that always confuses me in the bathroom is the bidet.
Oh, the bidet. I think you mean the bidet. And the bidet is that little, it's like a sink close to the ground next to the toilet. And Americans are notorious for misusing the bidet. I've got several hotels that won't let my groups come back. The bidet is basically for sponge baths. Europeans say it's to wash the things that rub together when you walk. Question way up there, please.
What if my cabbie is going too fast in Rome?
If your cabbie's going too fast in Rome, you need a phrase book, don't you? So you can whip that phrase book out and you can say, se non rolento vomito. If you don't slow down, I will vomit. Se non rallento vomito. Yeah, right here.
What about terrorists? Where should I sleep to be safe?
Oh, what about terrorists? You know, I think terrorism's overrated, frankly. 12 million Americans go to Europe. Yeah, terrorism's overrated. 12 million Americans go to Europe every year. None are hurt or targeted by terrorists. 12 million Americans year after year. Now, it's a tiny risk. Okay, statistically, anybody would understand you're safer here in the United States. But if you want to go to Europe and if you want to make that tiny risk even smaller, melt into Europe. And that's what we're doing anyways when we talk about going through the back door. We're traveling like temporary local people. Terrorists are going to lash out at high-profile aspects of the culture they don't like. You're staying in Pedro's Pension. Terrorists don't bomb Pedro's Pension. That's where they sleep. Yeah, question right here, please.
Can we really travel in Europe on our own without a guide?
Can you travel to Europe on your own without a guide? You know, anybody smart enough to find this beautiful hall today by 8 o'clock has what it takes intellectually to make it around Europe without being spoon-fed by a tour guide. Equip yourself with good information, expect yourself to travel smart, and you can. Yes, the question over there.
What about the language barrier? I only speak English.
Well, I only speak English, and I think the language barrier is about that tall. You can step right over it. Remember, we speak the world's linguistic common denominator. If a Greek meets a Norwegian hiking in the Alps, how do you think they'll communicate? Broken English. What Greek speaks Norwegian? Now, don't just assume they'll speak your language. Politely start by asking, parlez-vous anglais? Sprechen Sie English? If they say no, I do my best in their language. Generally, after a couple of sentences, they'll say, actually, I do speak a little English. One thing Americans do well linguistically is put others at ease with their linguistic shortcomings. Now, they're doing you a favor by listening to your language. Do them a favor by speaking it clearly, okay? Enunciate every letter. Assume your European friends are reading your lips, wishing it was written down, hoping to see every letter as it tumbles out of your mouth. Easy words, no contractions, no slang, internationally understood words. If your car is broken in Portugal, point to the vehicle and say, auto kaput. That would be understood. I speak this way for 4 months out of every year. When I return home, my friends say, Rick, you can relax now. We speak English fluently. You know, one of my favorite places to travel as a monoglot is Ireland, because I have this wonderful sensation of understanding a foreign language. The Irish have this wonderful gift of gab, and to be standing on the west coast of Ireland, where they say the next parish over is Boston, what a delight. Getting into a conversation with people who are just artists at conversation, who have all the time in the world to talk. Deep into a conversation with a dear old man, I asked him, were you born here? He said, no, it was about 5 miles down the road. Later on, I asked him, have you lived here all your life? He said, not yet. You know, when we think about Ireland, we think about that beautiful gift of gab, and that's one of those cultural cliches, and they're a little bit dangerous, and as a travel writer, it's really dangerous to embrace all these silly and simplistic cliches, so that's exactly what we're going to do tonight, okay? Now, like a good guidebook, the Seattle Men's Chorus is going to sing you a song and listen to the lyrics, and it'll teach you a little bit about the European heaven and the European hell.
wanna see Europe? Cheap. My name is Ricks. Steve Ricks. I can take you to Europe for half the price of that other guy. You know how I can do it? I can take you to see all of Europe in one day. Very fast bus, very fast vacation, very cheap. Come, quick, I show you. Come. On the bus, get the bus. No refund. Now don't sit till I tell you to sit. Sit. You got a potty stop? No potty stop. Cross your legs. Now, first trip is London. Very pretty, very cheap. Fasten your seat belts. This is going to be a bumpy ride.
Sailed the world, beheld its wonders, from the Dardanelles to the mountains of Peru. But there's no place like London. I feel wonderful, Copenhagen, salty old queen of the sea. Once I sailed away, but I'm home today, singing Copenhagen, wonderful, Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople, been a long time gone. Constantinople, now it's Istanbul.
Where we going? Barcelona.
Oh, do we have to?
Yes, we have to.
Oh,
Have you been there?
Barcelona.
Duh.
No, I've never been to Spain, no. But I kinda like the music. Say the ladies are insane there. But I kinda like the music. Moscow is far away. Are we really going there today? I was defeated, you won the war.
On that midnight train to Serbia. We're living on that midnight train to Serbia.
Helsinki, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Helsinki, 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 you're so fine, you blow my mind. Helsinki, Helsinki. Europe, through the trap door. Bus tours are the only way to go. Following our leader like a flock of sheep, till we fall exhausted in a hostile heap.
Get back on the bus. I tell you when to sit.
We saw 7 countries today. That's Europe, 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 the secret way. Fun, 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 up the Autobahn. Hey!
Come on, boys. Come. On the bus. Let's go. Where do I go? Oh, yeah. Come on, hurry up. No pit stop in the pee room. Come on. Keep on going.